Project coordinator for the Jamaica Venture Capital Program, Audrey Richards, is with us. That's a program that falls under the Development Bank of Jamaica. So there's a seminar, workshop that is coming up this Saturday, specifically aimed at the legal profession, but also open to others, investment fund managers and so on. Tell us about that workshop and its rationale.
It's the workshop, as you mentioned, it's on October 31st. It's going to be at the Mona Law Faculty, and it starts at 10 o'clock. It's from 10 until 4 o'clock, and it's going to be led by Mr. Douglas Lays, who is a former Solicitor General and is now in private practice. Mr. Lays developed for us what we call a toolkit, a legal toolkit. And really what it is a compendium of legal agreements, standardized agreements and templates, as well as the documenting best practices when it comes to doing venture capital and private equity transactions. And the reason why we're doing it is one, the DBJ was with the help of Compete Caribbean, actually developed that toolkit. It was done first by Mr. Lays. But one of the reasons, one of the reasons why we did that is that we believe that everybody needs to be on the same page when it comes to understanding the venture capital industry, understanding the kind of agreements and introducing the best practices. We're not building just an industry that's going to be relevant in Jamaica. So whatever transactions we do have to be relevant based on international best practices. So that's the main reason behind the toolkit. Also, we hope that it will lower the costs of transactions. If everybody now has standardized agreements and everybody does not have to create their own agreements from scratch each time. So we believe that a cost factor as well as a knowledge factor were very important for us in developing this toolkit.
And training is an important part of the DBJ's work as it prepares to strengthen the environment for venture capital in Jamaica, isn't it?
It is absolutely important. The reason being, venture capital is a new asset class to many persons. Many persons would not have been involved in a venture capital transaction. And just like banking industry, where there's a lot of persons who have been trained in banking, in using the documentation, in undertaking transactions. If we're introducing a new industry, we believe that is very important, that the investors be trained, the fund managers be trained, lawyers, accountants, and of course, most importantly, the entrepreneurs be trained and understand what venture capital is all about.
There's a business model competition among students at the tertiary level, which provides an important mechanism for training and exposure to venture capital.
Our business model competition is now in its third year. And just like in the first year, we're even more excited because of the kind of response that we've gotten from the university students. The current competition takes place among 3 universities, UWI, UTech, and Northern Caribbean University. And it has impacted several hundred students.
So what students do? They come up with projects?
They come up with projects, some really fantastic ideas, research that some of them would have done. They've formed teams, and some of these are cross-discipline teams, in that you might have a biotech researcher who has formed a team with someone from the business school, and together now they have set up an enterprise, and this is an enterprise that is competing for within each university first, and then the best out of each university, the 4 best teams now compete in the national competition. The very first year that we competed, Herbu Enterprises, which was a team out of Northern Caribbean University, they made like shampoos and so on. Herbu went to the International Business Model Competition in Utah and placed 8th overall.
International competition?
International competition, and won the prize as the best international team, beating out teams such as Harvard and Cambridge and so on. So I mean, we
And some of
we
these projects
strongly
morph
believe-
into actual businesses.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when you think about actual businesses, one example that I would bring at everybody, a lot of people don't know, is Jamaica Money Market Brokers.
There's a venture capital.
It was funded by venture capital.
Yes,
It was over 20 years
That's
ago.
right.
It was a small startup that Joan Duncan started with
True.
about 2 or 3 other
Yeah,
persons.
Noel Lyon.
And Noel Lan, who headed Jamaica Venture
Yes,
Capital
that's right.
Fund, funded the project. And GMMB now is a regional player, and who knows, it could be a global player one of these days. That is the kind of thing that the kind of businesses
Venture
that we
capital,
want to see. We want to see more GMMBs. We want to see more national, regional, global players that have been funded by venture capitalists. And in today's world, it doesn't matter if you don't have the natural resources. Look at Singapore. Singapore is one of the leading countries
Absolutely
with
right.
venture capital and private equity transactions. We believe that our Jamaican entrepreneurs, we have the creativities, we have the great ideas. We basically can compete with anyone in the world. And we just need to give them that opportunity. And a venture capital industry will give anyone with a great idea that kind of access. So
And the workshop this Saturday is a means of developing the knowledge. And
continuing that education. And as I mentioned the word continuing, I should mention for the lawyers that might be listening, is that they get continuing education credits
yes.
from the General Legal Counsel by attending this workshop. So that's an added incentive
Absolutely.
because as lawyers, as you know, have to continue their education.
virtuous cycle is created. So DBJ doing very important work in building an environment for venture capital expansion in Jamaica. With us today has been the project coordinator for the Jamaica Venture Capital Program, Audrey Richards. We thank you for your company. Next week I'll be back. Until then, Ian Bowen wishing you a pleasant day.